Greetings, viewers. JLB, back with another edition of Animated Television History Tour, and today we are going to be talking about one of my personal favorite Hanna-Barbera cartoons. Now, I grew up with Yogi Bear, mostly, as well as many other characters, but the one that I definitely enjoy the most is the one we're going to be talking about today, that being Top Cat. Now then, where did Top Hat come from? What's the history behind the boss, the pip, the championship, whatever you want to call him? What is the story behind Top Cat, or TC for those who know him, such as me? Well, first of all, TC, which I'll be referring to him in short, was the leader of a gang of Manhattan alley cats. Yes, Top Cat takes place in Manhattan, New York, and they live in a place called Hoagie's Alley. His friends, among which I am one, include Fancy Fancy, Spook, Benny the Ball, who would get a bit of a main character role in a later Top Cat adventure, but we'll get to that later. Brain and Choo Choo, all of which are alley cats living in Hoagie's Alley. Now, Top Cat and his gang were inspired by the East Side Kids. They were characters from a series of 1940s B-movies. You know, the cheesy movies they would air in the 40s. Movies that are so bad that they're good. Those kinds of movies. But their more immediate roots lay within a show that aired between 1955 and 1959 called The Phil Silvers Show. A military comedy whose lead characters, Sergeant Bilko, who was played by Silvers, was a crafty con man. Maurice Gosfield, who played Private Duane Doberman, in the Phil Silvers Show that is, provided the voice for Benny the Ball here in Tom Cat, and Benny's rotund appearance actually was based on Gosfield, so there's a bit of trivia to that. Additionally, Arnold Strang's vocal characterizations for the lead character, that being TC, was based on an impression of Phil Silvers' voice. And for those of you who are unaware, an additional parallel for the character was Hoagie Wolf from the Huckleberry Hound show, which we talked about in a previous episode. Other influences for Top Cat included the movie Guys and Dolls from 1955, in which actor Stubby Kaye played a short, stout, streetwise gambler, who was essentially a prototype for Benny the Ball. And the gang constantly attempted to earn a quick buck, usually through illegal scams. And frequent plot threads revolved around the local beat cop, Officer Charles, or Charlie, Dibble. And he ineffectively tried to evict them from the alley, and his appearance was actually mauled on his voice actor, Alan Jenkins. Now, how did the show do exactly? Well, in short, it was pretty good for its time. Still is, in fact. And I happen to have the very DVD, well, the VHS copy, but the very DVD in which I was first introduced to Top Cat. And here it is now. This is the DVD where I first met Top Cat. Cartoon Network's Cartoon Crack-Ups, containing some of the funniest episodes from the different Hanna-Barbera shows, including everything from Yogi Bear to the Flintstones to the Jetsons to Scooby-Doo to Huckleberry Hound, and yes, to Top Cat. And I gotta say, if it weren't for this movie, I wouldn't be talking about Top Cat today, now would I? But in all seriousness, how did the show fare? Well, animation historian Christopher P. Lehman said that the series can be seen as social commentary. The cats represent the disenfranchised people confined to living in a poor environment. Top Cat's get-rich-quick schemes are efforts to escape to a better life. The gang faces a human police officer who frustrates their efforts and keeps them trapped in the alley. And this enforcement of the social order by police ensures that the cats will not escape their current living conditions. Now that I think about it, it kind of is social commentary. Now, the show ran for about 30 episodes on ABC between September 27th, 1961 and April 18th, 1962. And of course, it was seen many, many other places after the show went off the air. And some of those I think I'd rather not talk about. However, there are other places in which Top Cat appeared in other Hanna-Barbera media. Like, for example, Top Cat and the Gang appeared in Yogi's Ark-Lark, which we'll talk about some other time. However, Top Cat mostly gets all the lines for him and his entire crew. In that film, he was voiced by Dawes Butler, while Benny the Ball was voiced by John Stephenson. And, well, it was presumed that Arnold Stang wasn't available at the time, while Maurice Gosfield sadly passed away in 1964 before Yogi's Ark-Lark came about. In 1985, TC appeared in Yogi's Treasure Hunt, featuring Yogi Bear and other Hanna-Barbera stars hunting down for treasure. Also, Officer Dibble made an appearance at the end of the show's episode Yogi's Beanstalk. He was voiced by John Stephenson at the time, since Alan Jenkins, his voice actor, tragically passed away in 1974. 1987, when Hanna-Barbera decided to go with the Superstars 10 series, it created the film the only Top Cat film, and one that I kind of remember a bit of, Top Cat and the Beverly Hills Cats, in which the gang helps a young girl claim her inheritance. During that time, John Stephenson reprised his role as Officer Dibble, while Benny the Ball was voiced by Avery Schreiber. Top Cat also appeared as a teenager in Yo Yogi, in which he lived in a trash can at the mall. And in the Fender Bender 500 segment of Wake, Rattle, and Roll, Top Cat and Choo Choo were one of the racers driving in a trash can model monster truck called the Alley Cat. Now, there were many, many, many other cartoons and places that Top Cat, or him and his gang, or Officer Dibble and the Cats have appeared in, but we'll save that for other times, maybe. But all the same, I think it's safe to say that Top Cat was pretty good, all things considered. Now, there were about 2 big-budget theatrical Top Cat movies, but unfortunately they were all made in Mexico, so I might not talk about them. But all the same, it's safe to say that TC has been living a long 9 lives. And I don't think that people are going to forget about Top Cat anytime soon. So if you have the Boomerang app, or you happen to have some old Hanna-Barbera VHS tapes with a bunch of different Hanna-Barbera cartoons on them, or DVDs, definitely see if Top Cat's on there. Might be worth your time. And with that being said, that wraps up another episode of Animated Television History Tour. Thanks for joining me, and definitely stick around, because we're going to be talking about the most iconic trio in cartoon history, if you grew up in the late 80s, of course. But their roots actually go back a little further than you think. I'll reveal to you who they are next time. But until then, stay animated, my fellow Animaniacs, and I'll see you next time.